So there's this story I've been wanting to tell you, and it's all about this chick called Nebraska Jones. It all started when she was probably around about 9 years old, and dude, she could shred the bass like no one else, literally amazing everyone who heard her. Music, it ran so deep within her veins, she couldn't get enough of it. It was like no matter where she was or what she was doing, she was always rocking the air bass, jamming out some riffs in her head. It's like she could turn the everyday noise into this symphony of music in her head. And the joy that she got from all of this, well, that was a gift from her God. It was when she was in her mid-teens she really came to know this God as a best friend and began to walk with Jesus every day. She really loved playing the bass for him and the mix of her two favourite things, both God and music. In the evening in her room, sitting on the bed looking out of the window of the second story of the house, she was inspired by the beautifully painted sky, the evening lights and the song of the birds. She picked up her bass and she sang for her Jesus. She sung all that was on her heart, not rhyming but true. It was out of tune, it was out of pitch, but not out of the wonderful presence of her God and friend. And they shared these wonderful moments together, some days shouting for joy, and other days absolutely speechless in reverence. These moments impacted her life massively as she walked closer and closer with God in every aspect of living. When she was 19, some boys from a school that were in this band were actually asked to play on a 2-month tour with this really famous band. But 2 weeks out from the start of the tour, the bassist was involved in this massive car crash and was put in a critical state in hospital. Now they all knew Nebraska from school, and they decided to drop her a message on Facebook asking if she'd like to fill in for the tour. And they needed to respond by the morning as it was urgent. Now that night when Nebraska saw the message, man, she almost fell over. Seriously blown away, she wanted to say yes right away. But she wanted to ask her best friend's advice. So she began to pray. That night, interrupted by dreams of tour, broken sleep, it was a long night. But by morning, after much prayer, she decided she wanted to do it. And at the end of the week of endless band practice, they were on the bus for the 2-month tour. They were all feeling bad for the mate in hospital, but so excited for the cool new opportunity. Yeah, it took a couple nights for Nebraska to calm the stage nerves, but when she did, she was ready. She found it tough to be on tour, the constant environment of fame, ego, groupies, drinking. She had to have a guard up and walk with God daily. She only wanted to please him, to live like Jesus amongst the guys in the band and everyone on tour. On and off stage, she really showed the love of God, selflessness, humility, grace to all of them. While she was on tour, she got Snapchats from her church friends, worshipping God and playing in the church band. Look, to be honest, this just made her feel super guilty that she wasn't singing Christian lyrics. They weren't bad, they were just about relationships and stuff, but she began to question if God could really use her in this band. And at the end of the tour, the boys asked if she'd like to stay on as their bassist, as their mate sadly couldn't return. She explained to them that she really wanted to play in a Christian band, which broke the lads' hearts, as they really came to appreciate her faith, her kindness and loving vibes. Well, a few days later, Nebraska found out what hospital the bassist was in. She popped in to visit him with a big box of chockies, and while she was there, she met a mate of his called Jose. He was a muso too. Now they all chatted away till the time came to say their goodbyes, and at that point, Jose knelt down beside his mate's bed and prayed with him. Nebraska was fully shocked, didn't expect it. And as they left the hospital, they got straight into a D&M about their faith and music, and they talked late into the night in that hospital car park and started to form a great friendship. Well, over the next few months, they started jamming and discovered a rad new sort of indie alternative worship band sound. Shortly after, a few more musos joined the band, and I don't think any of them could have imagined what happened next. It was about a year and a half later, the band was going from strength to strength. Their lyrics were relatable, inspiring to believers. The band actually got quite well known. They played more and more shows, they gained many fans. They played their songs over and over at gigs in churches, youth groups, conferences, camps. Can you even believe it? They even reached the Christian charts in the first year and a half. And when the band started out, they wrote lyrics packed with meaning for them. They would love singing them to God, but eventually, after singing them so much, they lost all meaning to them. They started playing them more for the fans and in the back of their minds, they're thinking more about their stage presence than the presence of God. They used to have little concern for how they look or acted. They would be honestly worshipping God, but over time they became more self-conscious of fans that would be recording them on their phones, their image on YouTube and Insta. Their authentic worshipful gestures slowly became practice poses. They would start worshipping with God in mind, and then moments later be caught up in all the distractions. Their focus moved from genuine worship to hitting better harmonies, brighter chords, catchier build-ups. They eventually better equipment, sound, lighting, stage presence. Little by little distractions got in the way. 3 to 4 years on, life had fully changed for the band. The band continued to go from strength to strength in the charts and in the world's eyes. It was exciting as fame took the band to greater heights, sharing their music across the globe in stadiums and arenas. But fame is hard. Endless hours in the recording studio, tours for months away from home, social events, radio shows, interviews, magazine write-ups, band photo shoots kept Nebraska and the band super busy. A few years later, the band came back from a 5-month European tour. Everyone was exhausted. Nebraska went back to her hometown to visit her parents and spend a week or so with them. The first night back, Nebraska had an early dinner with her family, excited to see them but wrecked from the tour. She went upstairs to her old bedroom early to catch up on some rest. As she walked in her room, it was like nothing had been moved since she was a teenager. It made her smile. It was familiar, it was home, and it was full of wonderful memories. It was crazy how much life had changed for her. As much as she loved the way that life had turned out for her, there was still something deep that she missed about her younger years, a richness to it that she wanted to go back to. She was tired and collapsed on her old bed, with one arm dangling off the edge. Her hand could feel a box under the bed. Curious as to what it was, she pulled it out. It was actually an old songwriting box, a Converse shoebox plastered with her favourite band stickers. She started looking through the tattered pieces of paper, bass lines and adolescent lyrics written in pink glitter pen. It made her laugh. She smiled as she read the childish lyrics in the poorly written songs. As she kept reading though, she came across one that brought back particular memories of a hard time she was going through. She could see the struggle in the lyrics, but the heartfelt way she trusted it to her best friend Jesus. Nebraska was blown away by the amazing walk with God she had in her youth. She started to think about the band's latest album about to be launched, and how the words were just generic Christian lyrics that rhymed and could be sung well as to reach a larger audience. She felt like she was almost further away from God now as a big Christian band leader than she was in her early years with God as a teen, and she began to sob. I guess all she ever wanted to do was honor God, further the band, reach more people and encourage them. But she had to keep the momentum going though. Making new albums, playing more shows, keeping the listeners happy. But I guess they got so busy in the process though, didn't they? That sort of took preference over everything. And as she thought about it, even their band Bible study had turned into a promo meeting, choosing album art and tour dates. But I still regularly have prayer times, she defended herself. But even as she thought about that though, she realized she was endlessly being distracted with her phone going off, important calls, endless social media notifications. Nebraska broke down. Tears were streaming and she cried herself to sleep. Well, that night, a great light spoke to her in the most fearfully large voice, but in the most tender, loving way. My darling daughter, oh how I love you, and oh how I love the songs you sing and the music you play for me. And just then, swooshing images came before her, not of the stadium she played in, not of the massive crowds and the concerts and the festivals it played at, but of young 16-year-old Nebraska, sitting on a bed in the evening lights, tear-filled eyes and a goofy smile, pouring out her heart to her best friend in song. The music was sloppy and out of key and out of pitch, but not out of the wonderful presence of a friend in God. You see, those concerts, they were my favourite. Those songs made my heart sing too. Nebraska, what I really want is your heart. And what I mean by that is an attitude that seeks me before everything else. Honestly, you had that. Even as you played for the popular band with the boys from your school, you would talk to me before shows, thanking me throughout the concerts. You really desired to honor me in your walk and your talk, and you did. See, fame isn't a bad thing at all. One of the biggest problems with it though is its busyness. The world will sweep you away with all these opportunities that seem so rare, so important, once in a lifetime chances. They constantly take your attention from me. But really, what's more important than this, than us? It's bigger than once in a lifetime chance, it's eternal. You've led many others to me in worship, and I thank you for that. It's all about seeking me with a genuine heart and in truth. You see, there's this false expectation out there that worship should always be taken to the next level. You know, bigger, brighter, louder, better, despite how you're really feeling inside. Jumping around when you just want to cry, pretending that everything's okay and it's not. Masking how you really feel because you think no one else gets what you're going through, but really, there's someone just beside you going through a similar struggle. See, worship and vulnerability, they go hand in hand, and it has this healing effect on all those around you too. See, true worship is turning yourself inside out for me. Every deep feeling, buried insecurity, every paralyzing fear is letting me take that and exchanging it for freedom and for joy. I mean, that's when the praise starts. We share these joyful moments together. That is something that I will really honor. Nebraska, you have to know that I'm not coming to you now because I'm angry or disappointed in you. It's because I love you and I cherish you. I always have, I always will. You're my darling daughter. I've just missed our special times together. You know, I think you've missed it too. Over these past few years, distraction has really robbed us from a deeper friendship and a certain joy-filled contentment that only I can give you. Remember, no matter your circumstances, where you are or when it is, our friendship has to come first. Your whole life is a song to me, Nebraska. It's full of ups and downs, but that really makes a song so beautiful. Come on, let's sing together again. First with your heart, then with your lips, and then with your life from day to day. And when you do, I will give you a contentment, a richness of life that absolutely nothing else could ever give you. And when she woke in the morning, in the place where she had fallen asleep, crying the night before, she felt like she had woken up in much more than just a dream. The sun was shining through the window of her room, and she could hear the birds singing to their creator. And then hope began to fill her heart in wonderful ways. She too, just like those birds, is going to sing again for her God and for her friend, in the most real and honest way for all the days of her life. For that